Hey guys, this week we're branching out a little bit and bringing you the lowdown on a rock and roll music legend.
Thomas Earl Petty, born October 20th, 1950, was an American singer-songwriter, multi-instrumentalist, record producer, and actor.
I know you. You're famous.
I was once. Sort of. Kind of. Not anymore.
He was the first of two sons of Kitty, Catherine Petty, a local tax office worker, and Earl Petty, who worked at a grocery store. His brother Bruce only came along 7 years after Tom's birth.
His interest in rock and roll music began at the age of 10 when he met Elvis Presley.
In the summer of '61, his uncle was working on the set of Presley's film Follow That Dream in nearby Ocala, and invited Petty to watch the shoot.
He instantly became a Presley fan, and when he returned that Saturday, he was greeted by his friend Keith Harbin, and soon traded his Whammo slingshot for a collection of Elvis 45s.
Of that meeting with Presley, Petty said Elvis glowed. In a 2006 interview, Petty said he knew he wanted to be in a band the moment he saw the Beatles on The Ed Sullivan Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Beatles!
Immediately after the Beatles' iconic televised appearance, bands were springing up in garages all over the world. It cemented what Petty wanted to do, and showed him that he could do it.
He dropped out of high school at age 17 to play bass with his newly formed band. In an interview with the CBC in 2014, Petty stated that the Rolling Stones were his punk music.
He credited the group with inspiring him by demonstrating that he and musicians like him could make it in rock and roll.
And I'll keep this world from dragging me down, gonna stand my ground.
One of his first guitar teachers was Don Felder, a fellow Gainesville resident who later joined the Eagles.
As a young man, Petty worked briefly on the grounds crew of the University of Florida, but never attended as a student.
An Ogeechee lime tree that he planted while employed at the university is now called the Tom Petty tree.
Although Petty has stated that he didn't ever recall planting any trees, but he also worked as a gravedigger.
In his family life, Petty also overcame a difficult relationship with his father.
His father found it hard to accept that his son was a mild-mannered kid who was interested in the arts and subjected him to verbal and physical abuse on a regular basis.
Petty was close to his mother and remained close to his brother as well.
Shortly after embracing his musical aspirations, Petty started a band known as the Epics, which later evolved into Crutch.
We thought the Epics was too corny a name, so we picked this really terrible one. Crutch.
The band included future Heartbreakers Mike Campbell and Benmont Tench, and although popular in Gainesville, their recordings pretty much went unnoticed by mainstream audiences.
Their only single, Depot Street, released in 1975 by Shelter Records, failed to chart. After Crutch split up, Petty reluctantly agreed to pursue a solo career.
Tench decided to form his own group whose sound Petty appreciated. Eventually, Petty and Campbell collaborated with Tench, Ron Blair, and Stan Lynch, forming the first lineup of the Heartbreakers.
Their eponymous debut album gained minute popularity amongst American audiences, achieving greater success in Britain.
The single Breakdown was re-released in 1977 and peaked at number 40 in early '78 after the band toured in the United Kingdom with the support of Nils Lofgren. The debut album was released by, again, Shelter Records, which at that time was distributed by ABC Records.
Their second album, You're Gonna Get It, was the band's first top 40 album, featuring the singles I Need to Know and Listen to Her Heart.
Just gonna tell her what to do. She might need a lot of loving, but she don't need you.
Their third album, Damn the Torpedoes, quickly went platinum, selling nearly 2 million copies, and includes their breakthrough singles Don't Do Me Like That, Here Comes My Girl, and Refugee.
In September 1979, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers performed at a Musicians United for Safe Energy concert at Madison Square Garden in New York.
Their rendition of Cry to Me was featured on the resulting album, No Nukes.
The album Hard Promises, released in 1981, became a top 10 hit, going platinum and spawning the hit single, The Waiting.
The album also featured Petty's first of many duets on the track Insider with Stevie Nicks, who absolutely adored Petty's music.
I almost preferred the Heartbreakers music to Fleetwood Mac's music at that point.
In 1982, bass player Ron Blair quit the group and was replaced on the fifth album, Long After Dark, by Howie Epstein. The resulting lineup lasted until 1994.
In 1985, the band participated in Live Aid, playing 4 songs at John F. Kennedy Stadium in Philadelphia.
Southern Accents was also released in 1985. This album included the hit single Don't Come Around Here No More, which was produced by the Eurythmics' Dave Stewart.
The song's video featured Petty dressed as a Mad Hatter, mocking and chasing Alice from the book Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, then cutting and eating her as if she were a cake.
The ensuing tour led to the live album Pack Up the Plantation Live and an invitation from Bob Dylan.
Petty and the Heartbreakers joined Dylan in his True Confessions tour. They also played some dates with the Grateful Dead in '86 and in '87.
Also in '87, the group released Let Me Up, I've Had Enough, which includes Jammin' Me, written by Petty and Dylan.
In 1988, Petty joined George Harrison's supergroup, the Traveling Wilburys, which also included Bob Dylan, Roy Orbison, and Jeff Lynne.
The band's first song, Handle With Care, was intended as a B-side on one of Harrison's singles, but was judged too good for that purpose, and the group decided to record a full album, Traveling Wilburys Volume 1.
A second Wilburys album, mischievously titled Traveling Wilburys Volume 3, and recorded without the recently deceased Orbison, followed in 1990.
The album was named Volume 3 as a response to a series of bootlegged studio sessions being sold as Traveling Wilburys Volume 2.
Petty incorporated Traveling Wilburys songs into his live shows, consistently playing Handle With Care in his shows from 2003 to 2006, and for his 2008 tour adding surprises such as End of the Line to the setlist.
In 1989, Petty released a solo album called Full Moon Fever without the Heartbreakers.
Similar to the arrangement between Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band at the time.
This stirred some controversy among members of the Heartbreakers, although all but drummer Stan Lynch ended up contributing to the album.
The album, which featured hits I Won't Back Down,
Free Falling,
and Running Down a Dream. Other musicians that participated in the recording of the album besides most of the Heartbreakers were George Harrison, Jim Keltner, Roy Orbison.
Also included was the talents of Alan Wydell, Jeff Lynne, and one of Petty's rock and roll inspirations, Del Shannon.
Mike Campbell co-produced the album with Petty and Jeff Lynne, along with the all-star cast of musicians.
Ringo Starr appears on drums in the video for I Won't Back Down, but the tracks were actually performed in studio by Phil Jones.
Petty and the Heartbreakers reformed in 1991 and released Into the Great Wide Open, which was co-produced by Lynne and included the hit singles Learning to Fly and Into the Great Wide Open, the latter featuring Johnny Depp and Faye Dunaway in the music video.
Before leaving MCA Records, Petty and the Heartbreakers got together to record live in the studio 2 new songs for a greatest hits package, Mary Jane's Last Dance and Thunderclap Newman's Something in the Air.
This was drummer Stan Lynch's last recorded performance with the Heartbreakers. Petty commented that he left right after the session without really even saying goodbye.
The package went on to sell over 10 million copies, therefore receiving diamond certification by the Recording Industry Association of America.
In 1989, while still under contract to MCA, Petty secretly signed a lucrative deal with Warner Brothers Records, to which the Traveling Wilburys had also been signed.
His first album on his new label, 1994's Wildflowers, Petty's second of 3 solo albums, included the singles You Don't Know How It Feels, You Wreck Me, It's Good to Be King, and A Higher Place.
The album, produced by Rick Rubin, sold over 3 million copies in the United States alone.
In 1996, Petty, with the Heartbreakers, released the soundtrack to the movie She's the One. The album's singles were Walls featuring Lindsey Buckingham from Fleetwood Mac, Climb That Hill, and a song written by Lucinda Williams, Change the Locks.
The album also included a cover of Asshole, a song by Beck.
The same year, the band accompanied Johnny Cash on his second album in his American recording series. The album was titled Unchained and was Cash's 82nd recorded album overall.
It was provisionally and cleverly entitled Petty Cash, and won Cash a Grammy for Best Country Album. Cash would later cover Petty's I Won't Back Down on his own album American 3, Solitary Man.
In 1999, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers released their last album with Rubin at the helm, titled Echo. 2 songs were released as singles in the US, Room at the Top and Free Girl Now. The album reached number 10 on the US album charts.
Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers played I Won't Back Down at the America, a tribute to Heroes benefit concert for the victims of the September 11, 2001 attacks.
The following year, they played Taxman, I Need You, and Handle With Care, all songs primarily written by George Harrison.
They were joined for the last by Jeff Lynne, George Harrison's son Danny, and Jim Keltner at the Concert for George in honor of Petty's friend and former bandmate George Harrison, who had passed away on November 29, 2001.
Petty's 2002 release, The Last DJ, was an album-length critique of the practices within the music industry. The title track, inspired by Los Angeles radio personality Jim Ladd, bemoaned the end of the freedom that radio DJs once had to personally select songs for their station's playlists.
The album peaked at number 9 on the Billboard 200 album chart in the United States.
In 2005, Petty began hosting his own show, Buried Treasure, on XM Satellite Radio, on which he shared selections from his personal record collection.
In 2006, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers headlined the 5th annual Bonnaroo Music and Arts Festival as part of their 30th anniversary tour.
Special guests included Stevie Nicks, Pearl Jam, the Allman Brothers Band,
Trey Anastasio, Derek Trucks Band, and the Black Crowes.
Nicks joined Petty and the Heartbreakers on stage for a selection of songs including Stop Dragging My Heart Around.
In July 2006, Petty released another solo album titled Highway Companion, which included the hit Saving Grace. It debuted at number 4 on the Billboard 200, which was Petty's highest chart position since the introduction of the Nielsen SoundScan system for tracking album sales in 1991.
Highway Companion was briefly promoted on the tour with the Heartbreakers in 2006. During the summer of 2007, Petty reunited with his old bandmate Tom Leadon and Randall Marsh, along with Heartbreakers Ben Montench and Mike Campbell, to reform his pre-Heartbreakers band, Crutch.
The band had originally formed in 1970 in Gainesville, Florida, before relocating to California, where they released one single in 1975 before breaking up.
The quintet recorded an album of 14 songs that was released on April 29, 2008 on iTunes. An additional song, Special Places, was available if you pre-ordered the album. The band also supported the album with a brief tour of California in the spring of 2008.
In 2007, Petty and the Heartbreakers contributed a Fats Domino cover, I'm Walking, to the album Going Home, a tribute to Fats Domino.
The album's sales helped buy instruments for students in New Orleans public schools, and they contributed to the building of a community center in the city's Hurricane Katrina damaged 9th Ward, a distinctive region of New Orleans.
On February 3, 2008, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers performed during the halftime show of Super Bowl 62 at the University of Phoenix Stadium.
That summer, the band toured North America with Steve Winwood as the opening act. Winwood joined Petty and the Heartbreakers on stage at select shows and performed hits from his days with Blind Faith and the Spencer Davis Group.
In November 2009, the box set titled The Live Anthology, a compilation of live recordings from 1978 to 2006, was released.
The band's 12th album, Mojo, was released in 2010. Petty described the album as blues-based. Some of the tunes were longer, more of a jammy kind of music. To promote the record, the band appeared as the musical guest on Saturday Night Live.
Hey, Tom Petty just called and wants to know if you'll play drums with them on Saturday Night Live. I'm like, what? The fuck is he calling me for? He couldn't find a good drummer?
The release of Mojo was followed by a North American summer tour. Prior to the tour, 5 of the band's guitars, including 2 owned by Petty, were stolen from their practice space in Culver City, California.
In 2012, the band went on a world tour that included the first European dates in 20 years and their first ever concerts in the Canadian provinces of Nova Scotia, Newfoundland, and Labrador.
In 2014, Reprise Records released Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers' 13th studio album, Hypnotic Eye. The album debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200, becoming the first Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers album to ever top the chart.
In November of 2015, the Tom Petty radio channel was unleashed on Sirius XM.
In 2017, the Heartbreakers embarked on a 40th anniversary tour of the United States. The tour began in Oklahoma City and ended in September with the performance at the Hollywood Bowl in Hollywood, California.
The Hollywood Bowl concert, which would ultimately be the Heartbreakers' final show, ended with a performance of American Girl.
We hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. We'd like to thank our wonderful patrons for their continued support.
And don't forget, you too can support us for as little as $1 a month by simply following the Patreon link down below.
Thank you to everyone who continues to watch, like, share, and subscribe.
What's your favorite Tom Petty track?
Or album.
Please don't hesitate to let us know in the comment section.
Thank you.
We love you.
Good night.